Hello and welcome to the live stream of today. I am Pim and I will be the moderator of today's live stream about Spanish veggie tapas. Before I introduce the local of today, I'd like to state that it is possible to also interact with me and the host. You can do that by posting your questions, comments, or remarks in the chat, which is to the side of the video that you are currently watching. Aside from that, I would also like to point out that it is possible to drop your email in the subscribe box on withlocals.tv, or you can hit the like, follow, or subscribe buttons if you're looking on Twitch, Facebook, or YouTube. If you want to see what's upcoming, the schedule, you can go to withlocals.tv for the full schedule, or you can currently look on the screen to see what we're going to do tomorrow. Because tomorrow we will give you an introduction to Turkish film and TV with host Estefania. So that will start at 12 a.m. and CET. So if you want, you can join in then and also join with the introduction to this. And the last part before I will give it over to the host is that you can also donate. And you can do that by hitting the pink button at withlocals.tv or by clicking the link in the description if you watch it on any other platform. But let's not waste any more words to this. Let's get on to the exciting stuff. Today you will meet Drika, the host from Madrid, who will tell you all about the Spanish veggie tapas. So let's jump straight to her. Drika, how are you doing?
Hello, how everyone? How are you doing, guys? It's very hot summer day in Madrid, Spain, and very looking forward to the experience and very excited to be joined by all of you.
I think we all are, Drika. What are you going to do for us today?
So I'm gonna, well, it is a bit of a cooking class / fun facts about a naturally veggie dish from Spain, from the south of Spain, which is Salmorejo. That might be a bit difficult to pronounce if you're not a Spanish-speaking person. So it is a very refreshing, naturally veggie dish. And it is one of the favorite tapas dishes from that the guests tell me when they go through the 10 tastings tour here in Madrid. And so they are surprised by it and they love it. And a lot of times they end up asking for the recipe so they can prepare it at home. So this is what will be, what's cooking this evening. And so I'll tell you a little bit about the dish and show you how, tips and tricks and how to make it at home.
Cool, that sounds really good. So this will be like the highlight of the 10 tastings tour that you also have, the experience on withlocals.com, right?
Yes, because I'm actually I am a food and arts host here in Madrid, and so I go to food markets, local food markets, and tapas joints, and taking people to taste the really local flavors from Madrid and from Spain in general. And this is one of the dishes that we try in the 10 tastings specifically. And people really enjoy it because they're not expecting it. They don't know what it is. It's not really a very popular one outside Spain. It is originally from Cordoba, from the south of Spain, and it's not really the typical tapas dish that people know outside from here. So they get very, surprised by it, and because it's one of my favorites as well. Just so you know, it's like very refreshing, and it is naturally veggie. So you don't have any, the base is tomatoes. You have tomato, bread, olive oil, vinegar is optional, garlic, and the garnishing, you can top it off then with veggie things or with hard-boiled egg and the Iberian ham if you want to add a bit more, protein or a bit more meaty flavors to it. but the base is naturally veggie. So vegans, vegetarians, and alike, and people that are meat eaters, they can try it. And depends on the what you top it off with. It is like a totally veggie dish, or you add a little bit of meat to it. So
Sounds really good, Rika, and I think it's even more exciting that you also mentioned that it's not a really known dish, and that's also, I mean, we can all make some of the more known, the better known dishes, but it's also nice to make one of the lesser known dishes. So yeah, I think I'm really excited for today, and I'm even by naming all the ingredients that you just did, it makes me hungry already, and I hope the viewers will also get a bit hungry from this.
yeah, and then
Because look at those.
if you just look at this, this like it's the perfect time to prepare it actually, because it's like tomato high season, summertime, and they are really beautiful and juicy, and also the telera bread. Actually, the viewers, any questions you have regarding the ingredients, the food, or just shoot your questions our way. Then Pim, I won't be able to read it, but then Pim pass them on to me, and then we can interact, and can get your answers, your questions solved as much as I can. And so one very typical thing, well, it's from Cordoba, the Salmorejo, and from the south of Spain, which is known as the frying pan of Spain. It's really hot area. During summertime, it gets the upper hundreds, and a little bit humid. So then Salmorejo, it's a perfect dish, really, if you want to have a complete filling meal that is refreshing, and that it's filling, but you don't need a siesta, a 5-hour siesta afterwards to get to recuperate from eating. And then it's complete and refreshing, and then it was really like born in there, because during summertime, the workers from the farm workers, or the people from the countryside, they needed to to have something hearty and fulfilling and healthy to eat, but there was they had to be light as well, so they could keep going. And so there is people from Cordoba would say anytime they eat salmorejo elsewhere, they always say there is something missing. There's a flavor missing from home that we can, even if we make it outside, and the ingredients are, highly available, and they are not super local. I have tomatoes and olive oil and garlic. I mean, it's very available everywhere. But then the bread, the telera bread, it's a bread, special bread from Cordoba. And unless you bake it at home, or you are in Cordoba, it's not very easy to find. But really, if any type of bread with a lot of guts, let's say more guts than crust, are perfect to be added to the salmorejo, because it's what gives it the creamy texture to the whole thing.
Quick question, Drika. I have some people asking, what are we jamming on? What you cooking up? So what are we going to make? I mean, for people that join in a bit later.
Oh yes, we are. So we are cooking salmorejo, and salmorejo is it's like a creamy tomato dish. It's not a soup, and it's between a soup and a puree. Let's say right in the middle. You see it once we have the thing right in the texture. You see it. It's between one and the other. Very typical from the south of Spain, and like naturally veggie. So it's very good for it's light and very good for vegan, vegetarians, and people that are meat eaters as well, because it's delicious, and you can always add some hard-boiled eggs or Iberian ham to on top of it. So so while I'm talking, I'll start. It's very easy to prepare. The only thing that you might not have at home is the the telera bread. But if you have a baguette with a lot of guts, with the like soft interior, you can use it. Go ahead. I like to adapt recipes as well. So I like the whole So the whole ingredient. So I like the whole wheat bread, and and the tomatoes, I like them the whole thing. So I don't peel them. I don't take the interior. So I add everything. I like the whole food. And a lot of people, they do peel the tomatoes, and they clean the tomatoes, and they get the bread has to be like white bread, and vinegar is optional. So the real vinegar that people use is the sherry, like sherry wine vinegar. And I think it's very, for me at least, it's quite too tangy, too acid for my taste. So I use rice vinegar instead, because it's like a bit lighter and has like a sweet kick to it. So I think it is more for my taste. But then if you like it very tangy and more acid, so sherry wine or any type of vinegar that you find it near your at your grocery store, you can use it. So then the tomatoes, you just there are like two blends, let's say two stages of blending. So first of all, you chop the tomatoes, and then you use it a blender, and here they call it the American blender in Spain, because the like this vase here, they call it the vaso americano, which is it's not like the most common here. Mixers are more common usually in the Spanish cuisine. But I cannot live without mine. I am, this is, you can, prepare everything from it. And people use robots as well, like Thermomix and things like that. But, and do it by hand as well, just, smushing everything. So it depends on how rootsy you want to get. So then there are two blends. So first of all, you add the tomatoes, and then you just blend the tomatoes, by themselves, so they get a bit juicier, and they get crushed, let's say. And so just do a little bit of noise here because this is live, right?
Yes, that's fine. In the meantime, I will look what's in the chat. We have GR mentioning this vegetarian is excited. We also have a question coming in from Emmy, which I will ask once you are finished with blending.
Sure.
And let's see if there's any more questions that we have. If there's any more questions that you might have, please feel free to post them in the chat, either on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and even Reddit today. So keep them coming, and I will forward them to Drika.
Okay, so you see, so it is as if you were preparing tomato juice. All right, so you just blend it, and I added the garlic here as well. So the amount of garlic you add to it depends on how much you like garlic. In Spanish food, it's there's a lot of garlic always with everything. And people say, it's not easy to digest, and so I don't know if I'll add it or not. But there are tricks that once you so it is more digestible, let's say. So when you have a garlic clove, if you slice it in the middle, and like you open it, and the core, sometimes there is like a green thing in there, inside the core of the garlic. If you take that out, so that doesn't go in the food, that is something that may cause you to like it's not very digestible. So if that is out, then garlic is easier for you to to handle. So that's like a little trick. And I do like garlic a lot, but then I just added a little bit, and just blend a little. And as a curiosity about Salmorejo, before the Spaniards went to the Americas, the conquistadors went to the Americas, there were no tomatoes and no many spices and fruits and vegetables were not known in Europe, because they didn't grow there. So they were brought by the conquistadors, and tomato was one of them. So tomato was only introduced in Europe in the 16th century. And in the beginning, it was taken as an ornamental plant. like decorative. So it wasn't edible. People wouldn't eat tomatoes. Actually, they thought it could be poisonous. So they were like, beautiful. They had tomatoes in their gardens, but it was just decorative. And then once probably, a person in Spain or in Italy or in France just decided to take their chances and say, this smells so good. It might not be that poisonous. Let's eat it. And then, it was really introduced to, to a lot of in Spain and Italian, Spanish and Italian gastronomy. So, you cannot think of a lot of Italian and Spanish dishes without this former ornamental poisonous thing. So,
yeah. I have a quick question coming up, Drika. Emmy asks, if this special type of bread is not available, what kind of bread would you recommend to use?
Any bread that is available where you live. The important thing is to have, that it does have guts. That if it's only plain crust, it's not ideal. So if you open the bread and then you get the white part of it, and it can be fluffy or not, because actually in the beginning, Salmorejo was you would only cook it with leftover bread, with old bread from yesterday. So it was, definitely it was like hard. The bread was harder. It wasn't, nowadays you go to the bakery and you buy fresh bread and you make it. You add to the Salmorejo. But then, if you had some old bread, you can always, because you soak up the bread here in the tomato juice, so it doesn't really matter as long as there is, the interior, there is a lot of guts, right? And then it's not, plain crust. So a baguette with a lot of, the white interior is great, or no, no packaged bread, because, like the bread you make sandwiches with, the texture is not going to be great in the end. So, like bread from a real bakery, it's always best, as well as, the quality of the tomato and the olive oil. I mean, quality is always key. So then this is not the little bread, but this is candeal, which is another one from Spain, that at least in the Madrid area, it's highly available, and they are very similar. So then you just add the bread here to the tomato juice. So then we get, my bread is a day old, so it's not super fluffy. It's from yesterday.
Cool. In the meantime, while you put the bread in, I want to also say hello to all of viewers on Reddit or Arpan. This is the first time we're streaming to Reddit, so if you also have any questions or comments, please feel free, and I will make sure that we get them to Drika. Let's see. I have someone who's also Spanish who mentions that this is cool. Is she making salmorejo? Well, you're actually correct, because that's what Drika is making for us today.
Yes, it's exactly Salmorejo. And for whomever is not Spanish or have not been to Spain, let us know in the comments if you've been to Spain, if you've visited the country, if you've been to Madrid, especially because I'm living here, I'm from here. And if you have, besides that, if you've tried Salmorejo before, if you've heard of it, or if you have tried it before, and yeah, so this let us know your comments on the and Pim, let me know.
Yes, I will definitely let you know, Drika. I have a few people tuning in. Tom mentions, hi, Drika. Sharif mentions, hello from 30,000 feet. So I guess he's in a plane somewhere. Yeah, welcome all for joining, and I hope you enjoy the Spanish Veggie Tapas experience so far with Drika, where we're making salmorejo. What are you currently doing, Drika? With you're putting the bread in the blender, correct?
The bread, because the bread, tomato and bread are those are the two main ingredients, the base for salmorejo. And so the bread, it needs to soak in a little bit in the tomato juice. for just for a little while. So and more so when it's like a day-old bread, because it's not as soft, and then it has to be so it can blend correctly and get the texture we're expecting. It needs to soak in a little bit. And here I can show you how it kind of looks like. So we leave it, you can leave it for like a minute or or so, just soak it in a little. And also, so in the meantime, we can add the salt, and it's salt to taste. And like everything really here, and the way I usually cook, it's like eyeballing cook. It's instinctive, totally instinctive. So I don't usually have, I am adding salt here, so I don't usually have and follow really measurements like, half a cup and then 200 grams of this or half a pound of that, unless I'm baking, because baking is more, it's more like, alchemy. And if you don't have, I think, you don't have the right amount of ingredients, the right proportions, it can be a disaster. But everything else for me, it's eyeballing, instinctive cooking. It's more fun. But there's always a recipe with correct numbers and measurements you can follow. So
Quick,
I added the sure.
Quick interruption, Drika, again. For the question for people who have been to Spain, I have Reinhard mentioning, I've been to Spain a lot, but never Madrid. Also, I managed to must have missed this dish because I never heard about it before.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and actually Salmorejo, as we were talking a little bit before, it is one of the highlights during the 10 tastings tour in Madrid that I host. But it's not the most famous tapas dish abroad, let's say. So in Spain, it's very popular and common, especially during summertime, because it's it's fulfilling and healthy and refreshing. But outside, people do know paella and the Spanish omelette and I don't know, like chorizo and the Iberian ham. Those are staples outside. But then this is like sort of a very local Spanish treat that we locals in Spain in general, we do love it. So when people come and try it in here, they're not expecting it, and they're like, oh, I want to know how to make it. And it's quite it's not cumbersome to find ingredients or to to make it. So so in here, so the basic ingredients are here. I do like to add a little bit of vinegar to it to get a little kick. Mine is rice vinegar, as I told you, because it's not as acid as the vinegar that is traditionally used when it's added, because it's optional, which is like sherry wine vinegar. But I like it because it's sweeter, and I just add a little bit so it has flavor, different flavor, and like a special unique flavor. And so we blend it. So this is the second blend, because everything is like soaking. We blend it again to get the the texture, the creamy texture of the dish. And then while I'll be blending, you see that I'll add the olive oil a little bit. So there's always like this hole here on the lid of the blender. And while I'm blending the thing, I'll add the olive oil little by little, because it might sound like like some superstition, some stupid thing, but it does help mix and blend all the flavors and helps with the texture as well. And of course, extra virgin olive oil, if you can find it. This is like the best one. So then be a little bit of noise, and in the meantime, if you want to just ask, keep asking questions, or it's gonna be just a little second.
I definitely will, Drika. I see there's a few more people joining in. Welcome ONN, welcome Michaela, and I see that's the people that have at least commented in the chat. If you want to ask a question to Drika, please feel free to do so. You can use the chat for this, and I will make sure that Drika will get the comments. Let's see. We have on Reddit a name I cannot pronounce, which is Rural H2 RLRC. If I did my best. Who mentions Salmorejo is nice, but gazpacho is better though. Drika, do you know?
Yeah,
Do you
I
agree with
heard
that?
that. Gazpacho is better. Gazpacho is it's different, I would say. Both are delicious. One is more like to drink, the other one, which is gazpacho, and has different ingredients. Basically the same, but more ingredients. You can add cucumbers and sometimes carrots and or bell pepper, and then it's liquid. You drink it. And Salmorejo, it has more bread and less ingredients, and it's it's the texture is different. It's creamier, a bit hardier as well. So I don't know. I love both. So there are like Team Gazpacho and Team Salmorejo. But regarding food, I'm never against anything. I'm all pro both. So sometimes I like one better than the other. But both are welcomed, and both are lovely veggie dishes actually. So this is like this is pretty much ready, so you can see a bit the the texture. I'll put it on a on a bowl and all. So it's not liquid and it's not super dense, so it's right in between, sort of more like a puree. And I'm gonna plate it so you can see it. How we top it off with what I chose, because it's a veggie experience. Not a vegan, a veggie one. So hard-boiled eggs, which is a classic. It's always on top of the salmorejo. And I have fresh basil leaves. So you can have you can use chives, cilantro, parsley to top it off, and I have basil leaves. So because it's the veggie one, but the traditional toppings are hard-boiled eggs and the Iberian ham, the omnipresent Iberian ham. And so this I'm gonna plate it, but usually it should go to the fridge for a couple of hours, so it cools off a bit, because it's to be eaten cold, okay? And to cool off a bit, and so the flavors can blend, so it's more flavorful. There's vinegar, olive oil, and and the texture does change a little bit when it's on the fridge as well. So so I will plate this, but usually you will only plate it once it's out of the fridge. Okay. So this is
Quick interruption, Drika, again. Oh, before you show it, there's a lot of people tuning in. I've got the question from memes123, who Dutch people? And I see that Amzilla answered me Dutch people. If you want to let us know where you're from, then we maybe can also get a new dish in the future live stream. So we can also arrange something that we can make something specific for your country. But let's get back further to Drika, who was about to show her what she made.
Okay, yeah, let us know where you're from. So I didn't tell you where I'm from. I'm originally from Brazil. So I was born and raised in Brazil, and I lived in the States for quite some time in Texas. And then that's before moving to Spain. So I've been calling Madrid home for 15 years now. So, I have roots and all over the place here. And, I feel I've always felt welcomed and really at home. So, just a curious thing. So I'll just get the camera a bit closer here so you can see the texture, if you may.
Yes, we can indeed see it. It's not too fluid, but it's yeah, looks good.
Yeah, it's like creamier because of the bread. And so and then we top it off with the hard-boiled egg. That'll get a little thingy here. So then you have this, the base is like totally veggie, as you can see. And then the toppings, you can be creative as well. You can be very classic and traditional and have the hard-boiled eggs and the Iberian ham. Some people, if you're, for example, pescatarian, a lot of people add tuna fish, like shredded tuna fish on top. It's, quite good, quite delicious as well. And you can, and like no animal based at all. You can just have, chives and herbs on top as well. But then, like this, it's almost the traditional one, this, without the Iberian ham. So you have a very complete meal. So you have the carbs from the bread, the veggie, the tomato. Then with the hard-boiled egg, you have the protein. And then also the salmorejo, it can be eaten as a main dish, especially during summertime, when you don't really, when it's too hot, you don't really feel like eating much, but then you want to be fed, and this is something that it's refreshing, and it's your stomach will be happy with it, and it's filling, and here with the, I'll get this here again so you can see it better.
That looks really good, Rika. Making me hungry over here.
Yeah, it's been a very refreshing thing.
We also have people in the chat mentioning looks delicious. I also want to say hello to Elion, who is watching on Twitch. Thanks for joining in. Yeah, let's show us what you made, Rika.
So this is there you go. The salmorejo. And of course, once it's in the fridge, then it gets the real texture it has to have. It gets a bit like creamier. So if you can think, when we were talking about the tomato, before the 16th century, there were no tomatoes in Europe. There was salmorejo before, but it was white. So it had everything but the tomatoes, and then once the tomatoes were introduced to to Europe, then it was later on added. But there was salmorejo before, like the white version, let's say, like the white one without the tomatoes. And so then the garnishing, you can really be to top it off, you can be very very creative if you want, if you want to be innovative and add different things to it. And so, as I was saying, you can have it as a one dish only. It can be served, and it is actually at bars and restaurants, served as an entree, as if instead of a salad, let's say, you have you can have the salmorejo. And sometimes, in the mornings, you can spread it on toast as well, because here, it's a very typical breakfast treat in the morning, the toast with olive oil and tomato. And so if it's not just the crushed tomatoes, a lot of places you do have salmorejo to add to your toast. And so a little bit of olive oil on top as well. And
you can, it's like a multifunctional dish in that way. So that's also really nice. You can eat it at multiple occasions.
yes, and actually, if you like, you're looking for a special hors d'oeuvre, you have a dinner party at your place, and you want to be innovative, and this is something that I would recommend, because as people don't really know about salmorejo outside, overseas, you may be able to impress your guests by having this as an entree, and serving in little cups, or as a dip, or to spread on something, because it's really delicious and fresh, and it can be exotic if you have no idea where what it is, where it comes from. although the ingredients are very very simple and very easy to find. But your guests don't have to know that it took you just like 5 minutes to prepare it. You can say that you were all day long on the in the kitchen preparing this foreign like special local dish from one of your trips that you were very impressed with, and you had to share it with them. So
Yeah, it
this
sounds
is
like
this is
a
it.
sounds
This is
like a plan for indeed a dinner party. I have Michaela tuning in, also mentioning really miss dinner parties. Well, next time we can have a dinner party with someone. Feel free to make what Drika just made, the tasty salmorejo. Yeah, it looks really good.
nice.
Is
And
it
it's,
now possible to eat it right now, or do you really advise people to put this in the fridge for a few hours first?
I do advise people to cool it off. Because it does taste better, and like tomato sauce, when you have to slowly cook the tomato sauce and just leave it so all the flavors and the different ingredients can really blend. It might sound like a blah 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 thing, but it does help with the flavor, and it intensifies the flavor, if you will. So, and especially if you're in, although it's like here in Spain it's 7:30, although it's it's evening already, it's very light outside, it's hot. So it's in the like mid 90s right now. In a lot of places in Spain it's in the upper hundreds these days, and this weekend it's going to be scorching hot. So you will appreciate something cooler coming, straight from the fridge, not frozen, but just cool to start with your meal, as an entree. So I would really recommend it to be, just cool it down a bit. Maybe if you have a potent fridge, in an hour, it may be good already. But it's like right now it tastes good, it's great, but you need the right texture and more of a flavor that staying on the fridge. It does add to it. It does help. Yeah.
Cool. That's a good tip for anyone who's going to make this at a later point. Let's see. I think I had one question left from Michaela, because you mentioned also that you are partially Brazilian, or that you live there. I have a question coming in. What vegetarian Brazilian dish you'd recommend, which would be easy to make at home? So like something similar to the salmorejo, but then from Brazil. Is there any dish that you can think of?
Oh my God, yes, there is one dish that I love. Well, I usually make it for, and it's like very regional, as in from the part of Brazil I'm from. Although it is well known, but it's called couscous, like the Moroccan couscous, but it has nothing to do with it. It's just the same name. And it's couscous paulista, which is Paulista is from São Paulo, where I'm from. And it can be totally veggie, or you can add sardines to to it as well. So it does have maize corn flour, tomato paste, and then you have like garlic and onions, some herbs to the mixture, let's say. And then it's served cold as well. So you have to put it on, like in a pan, as if you were baking, but you don't put it in the oven. It goes straight to the fridge. And then you can decorate, and of course you eat the decoration. You can decorate it with hard-boiled eggs, and with a sliced tomatoes, olives. What else? And sardines. If you want to add the traditional one does have sardines. But then if you're if you're vegan, or if you're you don't want to have any meat based, so you can have only the the veg ones. It's called couscous paulista.
Okay,
and that's
that's
very original, and it's my favorite one.
sounds really good to make it once. In the meantime, we also have a few donations that came in. We have a donation from Ayla and both from Michaela, so thank you very much for that. Also, the couscous paulisto that you mentioned, it sounds really good to me, but maybe the viewers at home can also put in the chat whether they want you to make it one day, and then maybe we can arrange something that you can do this again in a future live stream if you want, Rika, if you're up for that.
Yes, yeah, sure. That would take a little longer because then it's you need a stove, like to first you have to cook the thing and then you put it in the like in a plate or something, and then it goes to the fridge. But definitely, you can actually eat it anytime, but it's very popular during Christmas time in Brazil because it's a different hemisphere. So Christmas time is high summer down there. So you do, it's the same as with Salmorejo. You wanna, eat something that's delicious, that it's, healthy, but that is, fresh, that it's not, super heavy. And that is, that is one of them that's quite traditional for Christmas time. And I can't, I have no Christmas without couscous paulista for me. It doesn't matter where I am. If I'm, here, if I'm back home, or visiting friends, I don't know, in the Alps, or I don't know, in Tanzania, I'll try to look for the ingredients and make it like no Christmas without it for me.
Yeah, but that's also the nice thing because it's, as you mentioned, quite simple to make. So then it's also possible to make it in a lot of different places when you're there at the moment. Yeah, is there anything else that you would really want us to tell us, Rika?
Well, actually, this this is it's been a pleasure really to have this experience and interaction with you guys, because it's been a while since without the COVID related issues. It's been a while since we can actually could actually get guests from all over the world and go showing bars and restaurants and art museums. And so I do miss it a lot. And besides being my bread and butter, I do miss the interaction. That's like one of the lovely part of it, of being a host, is to interact and to exchange experiences with the with people from all over the place. They are so interested in what you have to show in in your country, what you have to offer. And it's slowly coming back, like really slowly, and depends on where in the world it's more or less slow. And this type of interaction is it's very fulfilling, and I do appreciate it. It's it makes me more excited and keen to really go back there and and safely with all the safety and hygiene measures start doing that again. So
that indeed, as you mentioned, like everything everywhere, it's opening up really, really, really slowly. And I can imagine this kind of live stream that you did also helps with a bit of interactivity, getting a bit of people to interact online. That's I think really nice for you as well. You mentioned in the beginning that you also had the 10 tastings on withlocals.com, correct?
Yes, so I am. I host food and art experiences in Madrid, and so I am. I belong to the 10 tastings group, let's say. Also, I do the wine and tapas experience, and a vegetarian one through some markets and special local places in Madrid, because it's tough to be vegetarian and vegan in Spain. Everything is very meat-based, animal-based. But there are, like special favorite places of mine that I take the guests to. And they're like Spanish staples, but they are vegetarian. So you can enjoy it if you don't eat meat. And I also host art experiences. So the Prado Museum, the Reina Sofia, the two main museums, and also street art I have a cultural Madrid, which is street art and market, food market visits as well. So mixing, things that I love, like everything food, because I love cooking and I love eating even more, and enjoying, all the fresh and rich ingredients there are in this country, and also art, modern art and classic art, street art, urban art. So then it's all my passions together, and so it's just like the best thing in the world to be a food and art host, actually in Madrid. And hopefully once things start picking up again, I can see some of you that are watching the experience here and visiting in Madrid, so I can take you guys to very local, special, unique places in town, because it's a lovely, vibrant city, and there will always be like that. Doesn't matter, doesn't matter what happened.
Yeah, and I think that I mean, the story that you told us, I think we can all just really look forward to moving into different places, to start traveling again, also go to Madrid, and maybe even be on an experience with you as a host. We were just talking about the couscous before you went on the experiences that you are on, and I see a viewer ONN who mentions, "I'll tune in for Drika making couscous. Who else will?" And I think it's really interesting to see who else would do that, because then we can maybe arrange something within a future live stream with you, Drika, as I mentioned, if you are up for that.
Oh yes, totally. I love it. Online and offline experiences. I do enjoy this interaction. This is different, It's like from my kitchen to yours, or from my little corner to yours. And I do love the interaction that you have with in person. I am like an in-person person. I am a people's person. But this is like very new and exciting and interesting as well too. And more if it works as a if you feel like coming to something that's virtual, you want it to become offline. You want it to become like real and presential. So that is also one of the goals, to to break this barrier, let's say, from the virtual to the real world.
Yes, let's indeed. That's also what this is for. Drika, can I thank you very much for hosting this experience with us today? I think it was really interesting, and it's also it's a simple dish that looks delicious. So I'm definitely going to check it out at home once I'm there. So thank you very much for today, Drika.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you guys for tuning in, and hope you prepare it at home. And if you do, just put pictures or a little video in social media, so I can share your video or your pictures with me and with locals, so we can see how it turned out, and if you liked it, how the experience was, so I can have some feedback from you guys as well. And I hope you've enjoyed it. And then I hope to see you one day soon in Madrid, so I can either make salmorejo for you or take you to my favorite places where salmorejo is always available in Madrid.
Sounds really good, Rick. And also about the social thing, I think if people really want, if they made pictures and want to share them with us, you can go to the withlocals.com website and look up our email on there, and then send a picture and an email containing what you made, and maybe with a short story, and we can share that with Drika. Thank you very much, Drika, and I hope to see you in the next time, maybe with the couscous.
Yes, thank you guys, and see you. See you soon, and take care.
Yes, goodbye, Drika.
Bye now, guys.
Thank you for all the people tuning in today. It was a really nice experience where host Drika was making the Salmorejo, typical Spanish veggie tapas. If you're interested in like more of these kind of live streams, either on Reddit, Twitch, YouTube, or even with Locals TV, our own platform, feel free to do so. On withlocals.tv, you can see the full schedule for what we're going to stream the upcoming week. Today, we had this Spanish veggie tapas experience, of course, and tomorrow at 12, we will have the introduction to the Turkish film and TV with host Estefania. So if you're up for that, please tune in tomorrow. And otherwise, have a lovely day or evening or where you're from, and hope to see you soon tomorrow again. Goodbye.